The case you're about to see is fictitious, but the procedure is legally accurate. The characters are played by actors, but the jury is selected from members of the general public. Today's case in the Crown Court arises out of an incident during a local concert by the rock band Tears. The group's road manager, James Fagan, is charged with assault occasioning actual bodily harm and of causing grievous bodily harm with intent. He has pleaded not guilty.
Dr. Gill, were you on duty in the casualty department of Fulchester Infirmary on October the 11th last year?
I was, yes.
And were you called upon to treat a 14-year-old girl, one Michelle Hines?
That's right.
Tell us about that.
Can I look at my notes?
Oh, yes, these are notes you made at the time.
The same night?
Yes, of course, by all means.
What do you want to know?
What was wrong with her?
Multiple lacerations affecting the eyes, nose, and upper maxillary area, the cheeks. Some bruising and swelling of the right hand. X-ray examination showed a fracture of the metacarpal, of one of the small bones of the hand, and she was in shock. I thought at first that she'd been in a fight and had been struck with a broken bottle.
Don't tell us what you thought, please, Doctor. Just answer Mr. Fry's questions.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So Michelle was brought in seriously injured. What did you do?
Cleaned up the cuts, stitched up the worst of them, bandaged her hand, and arranged for her to be transferred right away to the eye hospital for specialised treatment.
Was that treatment successful?
I gather it was not. Both eyes had been irreparably damaged. Michelle is totally blind.
Was there any evidence of what caused Michelle's wounds?
And when you answer, Doctor, on this occasion, please tell us what you saw and not what you thought.
There were fragments of broken glass in the cuts. Is that what you mean?
Yes, indeed. May we now have Exhibit A, please? Now, were Michelle's injuries consistent with her having fallen or been thrown onto that row of lamps?
Oh, certainly, yes.
Thank you. Now, what about the injury to the hand? What do you think was the cause of that?
Mr. Fry, don't invite the witness to speculate.
Lord, in your experience of injuries to the hand, Doctor, such as the one you've mentioned, how are they generally caused, would you say?
I'm sorry, this is still utterly speculative.
Well, my lord...
Can I just say something?
Just a minute, look. Mr. Fry, is it your intention to make a point of this hand injury?
It is indeed.
Can I just say that I have no idea?
You've no idea how this hand injury was or might have been caused?
No idea. It could have been a blow, compression injury, a fall, almost anything.
So it could have been caused by Michelle putting her hand on the edge of the stage?
Well, he said he doesn't know, Mr. Fry.
Look, he may not know what did cause the fracture. I'm trying to establish whether a certain circumstance could have caused it.
Well, he said almost anything could have caused it. So let's leave it at that, shall we?
As your lordship pleases. Were there any other marks or injuries that you noticed?
Yes, there was bruising to the upper arms, both upper arms. Now, this I can account for. There were clear marks of fingers and thumbs there. Someone had picked her up by the arms, applying a fair amount of pressure.
How much pressure, Dr. Gill?
Oh, fair amount. Someone had gripped her arms pretty tightly.
Can you say how large the hands were that caused these bruises?
Oh, fairly big. Certainly a strong pair of hands.
Thank you.
When you saw Michelle at the hospital, what was she wearing?
Oh, some sort of jumper, skirt, boots, I think.
The skirt, was it wide or was it a tight sort of skirt?
Well, it was longish, past the knee. Fairly tight, as I recollect.
And the boots, flat heels or high heels?
Oh, high heels, the kind with a thin raised heel.
3 inches high, 4?
3 or 4 inches, yes.
So, a tight skirt and a pair of boots with high heels. Now let me turn to the facial injuries, and let's all agree, shall we, that they were caused when Michelle fell onto one of those lamps. Can you possibly say whether she was pushed or whether, in her tight skirt and high heels, she simply fell?
All I can say is that she hit the lamp with a good deal of force. The cuts were very deep.
Did she fall or was she pushed, or don't you know?
Well, all I can give you is an informed guess.
I don't want a guess. Do you know?
No.
What time was Michelle brought into casualty?
I don't have a record. It was towards midnight.
After 11:30?
Probably.
With the sort of injuries you've described, is the time factor important? Well, let me put it another way. If she'd been brought in sooner, could her eyesight have been saved?
I don't know. I doubt it.
Which? You don't know or you doubt it?
You can't put a pair of eyes back together in a busy casualty department at midnight. The operation has to be planned, prepared, and carried out by a specialist. In Michelle's case, the process involved a series of operations spread over several months, and they failed. If we'd started half an hour earlier, I can't think that it would have made much difference.
The marks on the upper arms, could you estimate when they were caused?
Only approximately.
Sometime that evening? Any time from what? 5 o'clock onwards?
Well, yes, I suppose so.
You said that Michelle was wearing a jumper. Long sleeves?
Yes.
Was she bruised through the material, or were the sleeves rolled up at the time?
I've no idea.
You don't know. So they could have been caused at any time that evening with the sleeves rolled up or down. Could you tell us whether they were caused at the same time or separately, perhaps by different people?
I wasn't paying that much attention to a couple of bruises. The child had been blinded.
You weren't paying that much attention, thank you.
I'm sorry to keep coming back to these bruises on the arms, Doctor, but were Michelle's injuries, including the bruises, entirely consistent with her having been seized from behind by the arms, lifted into the air, and thrown head first onto that row of lamps?
That's one possible explanation.
Thank you. My Lord?
Oh, no. Thank you, Dr. Gill.
I call Ronald Crawshaw. Mr. Crawshaw, are you the manager of the Civic Hall, Fulchester?
That is correct.
You remember the concert given there on October the 11th last year by the Tears?
I remember it very vividly, sir. Can I make it clear that it had nothing to do with me having that group? It was not my decision in any way, shape or form.
Whose decision was it, Mr. Crawshaw?
Oh, the committee, sir. The Recreation and Amenities Committee, Parks, Baths and Laundries, as was. Fully approved and passed in council subsequently, sir.
Are these pop concerts often given at the hall?
Oh, quite regular. 2 a week. We've had 3 sometimes. I have to be there all the time while the hall is open to the public. School speech days, election meetings, film society meetings in the small hall. I work 60, 70 hours a week, some weeks, plus being liable to be rung up at home at all times of the day and night.
Yes, thank you. Can I refer to the concert in question? Were the arrangements made for that evening with regard to security and so on, were they in any way out of the ordinary?
You mean for a pop concert?
Well, I presume security is greater for a pop concert than, shall we say, for a school speech day.
Ah, yes. Well, for pop concerts, what we do is we have the 2 night security staff from the town hall on the door, and we bring in half a dozen lads to be stationed round the auditorium, plus me, of course, in overall charge of the situation, under the ultimate command of the Director of Recreation and Amenities, of course.
And prior to the concert on October the 11th, had this arrangement proved satisfactory?
By and large, yes, by and large.
Was it satisfactory on that occasion?
It would have been, it certainly would have been, if it hadn't been for the mass hysterics and what have you. I blame the singer myself, egging them on. If they'd all stayed in their seats, we'd have had no trouble whatsoever. Well, I made a report to the director subsequently, which had that group totally banned henceforward. They'll not play in any civic building within the borough boundary until further notice, if you can call it playing, which I don't, personally.
What happened exactly, Mr. Crawshaw?
Well, sir, the patrons all rushed down to the front of the auditorium and started to try and climb on the stage. I immediately issued instructions for the hall lights to be put on and for the group's equipment to be disconnected at the mains. This the concert promoter, Mr. Kaine, flatly refused to do. As a result, things got completely out of hand, and a young girl was seriously injured as a result. This would never have happened if my instructions had been carried out, and it was not the responsibility of any other council employee whatsoever.
Did you see the incident in which Michelle Hines was injured?
Yes, I did. I've never seen anything so shocking in my life.
What did you see exactly?
This fellow grabbed her and threw her slap bang into a row of lamps. Deliberately. Totally unnecessary. Criminal.
Will you recognize the man who threw Michel onto this row of lamps?
Yes, I would. I could tell you his name. The big ape. Not a word of apology, mind you, not to the girl or to me.
You see this man in court?
That's him, and he had no business to be there in the first place, you realise, not his job at all.
Did you have a clear view of this incident, Mr. Crawshaw? I'm sure my learned friend will ask you this. Are you positive of what you saw?
I am, yes. There's no doubt about it at all, none whatsoever. He should be put away. He's a menace.
Mr. Crawshaw, what is the seating capacity of the Civic Hall?
2,314 persons.
And without seating on the platform for a pop concert, sir?
Now, for a pop concert, we do not allow patrons in the balcony due to the danger of possible structural damage when they all start jumping up and down and banging their feet and what have you. Also, we do not have the space to place the temporary seating on the platform, so the maximum is about 2,000.
How many tickets were sold for the concert given by Tears?
Now, that I couldn't say. That was the responsibility of the promoter.
Were there any empty seats?
Not to begin with.
But to begin with, every seat was taken.
This is correct, as far
Were
as I
there
know.
members of the audience who could not find a seat?
Well, if there were, there shouldn't have been. We do not permit standing in any shape or form on account of the fire regulations.
Were there perhaps youngsters who did not have tickets but who nevertheless tried to get into the hall?
Oh, that's inevitable. We watch out for it, though.
And just to complete the picture, how many entrances and exits were there in the Civic Hall?
3, but only one was in use. The other 2 are fire exits operated from the inside. They won't open from the outside.
So, to control a crowd of 2,000 youngsters, together with an unknown number trying to get in without paying, to look after 3 entrances, all of which were required to be unlocked and to be capable of being opened from the inside in case of fire, to do all this, you had a staff of 8 people.
But that's for the inside of the building. Any trouble on the outside is the responsibility of the police.
But for trouble inside, to handle an audience of 2,000, do you consider a staff of 8 people sufficient?
Well, looking at it like that, possibly no. On the other hand, we've always coped in the past, you know.
But on October the 11th, I gather, your security men were unable to cope.
Only because of the disgraceful behaviour of the group and the audience. As bad as each other, in my opinion.
Did the group encourage the fans to climb onto the stage?
No, but they got them to come down to the front.
When the fans did attempt to invade the stage, were your security men able to stop the invasion?
Most of it.
But not all. How many men did you have stationed in front of the stage?
3 big lads, swimming bath attendants.
Swimming bath attendants. Bit out of their depth on this occasion, weren't they? Mr. Crawshaw, when Michel was injured, what were you doing?
What was I doing? I was trying to get down to the front of the hall to assume overall charge of the situation.
Trying to get down to the front. Were you having difficulty?
Well, yes, the aisle was blocked with patrons, which it shouldn't have been, incidentally.
So you were fighting your way through a considerable crowd. How close to the stage were you when the accident happened?
I suppose that I was level with row G, A, B, C, 7 rows from the front, that would be.
And between you and the stage was a seething mass of hysterical teenagers?
I wouldn't say seething.
Not seething, pushing, shoving, jumping up and down, all that sort of thing?
Yes, all that.
And you claim that you had a clear view of what happened in the midst of this hysterical mob. How tall are you, Mr. Crawshaw?
5'6"3/4.
It doesn't seem possible.
I am.
I mean, it doesn't seem possible that you had a clear and uninterrupted view.
Well, it was happening above their heads, you see, actually on the stage, which is visible from all parts of the auditorium. It's designed to be. The floor slopes. You know what I mean.
How many fans climbed onto the stage?
I suppose a dozen, maybe.
Might it not have been more? 20 or more?
Not to begin with. 1 or 2, then a whole lot. But mostly they were intercepted and removed to safety.
Intercepted by your security men, your swimming bath attendants. Do you mean that they were physically prevented from climbing onto the stage?
Exactly. Physically prevented.
They were seized bodily and pushed or propelled backwards onto one side.
Correct.
Was that not exactly what Mr. Fagan was doing with the fans who had evaded your security men and were trying to climb onto the stage?
But he was being violent with it. He was hurling them about, shoving them, kicking them off the stage. But they're only little girls, you know. He should have picked on someone his own size.
What sort of mood were they in, these little girls? Were they excited, hysterical?
Well, mob hysterics it was. Deliberately encouraged, mind you.
Were they in their mob hysteria, in their frenzy? Were they behaving violently, hitting, kicking, that sort of thing?
Yes, all that. Anyone who got in their way, kicking, scratching, all that.
Was anyone else injured apart from Michel?
Not seriously. A few bruises, a couple of girls fainted.
How many girls did Mr. Fagan physically remove from the stage?
Well, I don't know.
A dozen, perhaps? More?
It could have been.
And apart from the accident with Michel, none of them was hurt beyond the odd bruise?
No.
In your view, Mr. Crawshaw, did Mr. Fagan use more force, more violence than was necessary in the circumstances?
Definitely.
Did any of the youngsters who got onto the stage physically injure any of the musicians or damage any of the group's equipment?
Not to my knowledge. It was more just trying to touch them, you know.
Just trying to touch them. No further questions. Thank you, Mr. Crawshaw. My lord? I call Tracy Brett. Tracy, were you there when Michelle was hurt?
I was with her, yeah. We went together. I was dead lucky it weren't me, really. Easily could have been.
Now, will you tell us in your own words what happened?
Well, we was right in the front row. There was me, Michelle, and these two girls out of our class, Sharon and Diane. We all went together, you know. Anyway, the girls behind was pushing us all the time, right? Pushing forward, trying to get to Mike.
The singer?
Yeah.
Were you not sitting down?
No, because if we'd stayed sat down, we couldn't have seen a thing, because all those from the back come down the front, right? And they were, like, standing between us and the stage, right? You with me? Stay sat down, just get a belting view of somebody's backside jumping up and down. So right from the start, us four was down the front, kind of peering over the stage.
You were up against the edge of the stage?
Yeah, it come up to about here. And we was right up against it, because the others behind were shoving like mad to get to the front. Oh, we was getting dead squashed, right? But it didn't matter, because we got near Mike.
Did any of the girls try to get onto the stage?
Well, only when the others started it, because they was, like, climbing up the back of us and over our heads, right? Mike kissed one of them. Honestly, we just went mad. We sort of climbed up one another, give each other a leg up, right? And we was there. I just wanted to touch him, stroke his hair or something. Couldn't think of nothing else.
Did Michelle do the same?
Yeah, all four of us. We just went mad.
Now, what happened after you'd climbed onto the stage?
Well, all we was trying to do was touch him, right? And this big swine grabbed me by my hair and he's pulling me backwards by my hair. I was flat on my back and he dragged me to the front of the stage and then he kicked me right off the edge. The next thing I saw was Michelle being smashed head first right into the lights. Felt dead sick. Let me go cold all over seeing it.
Do you recognise the man who pulled you by your hair across the stage?
Yeah, it was him there.
And would you also recognise the man who smashed Michelle into the lights?
Him! I saw him. I'm sorry, but I seen you do it. Hard luck.
Thank you, Tracy. Now, Mr. Crawford White here is going to ask you some more questions. All right?
I've said all what happened.
I know you have, Tracy, but I'd like to go over it again with you just to make quite sure we've got it all absolutely straight. Now then, you told us that when the concert began, you were sitting with your friends in the front row. Is that right?
Yeah.
And then you said, when the group started playing, a lot of people ran to the front, into the space between the front row of seats and the stage itself.
Yeah, so we had to stand up to see what was going on.
Did anyone try to stop this happening? Did anyone tell these people to go back to their seats and sit down?
No, but they wasn't doing any harm. They just wanted to get near Mike.
So nobody stopped them from crowding towards the edge of the stage?
They'd have a job.
Why would they have a job?
Because none of them would have gone back to their seats. They just wouldn't. You couldn't make them unless you had a gun or something.
And nobody even tried?
No.
And what did you do, you and Michelle and your friends, when these people ran down and crowded in front of you?
Well, we stood on the seats first off so as we could see, but we kept getting shoved off with all them behind because they was like climbing up the back of us and over our heads, right?
Sounds as though there was a good deal of pushing and shoving going on.
Yeah, it was murder.
And you must have been doing quite a lot of it yourself.
Well, we didn't start it.
But you managed to push through the crowd to the edge of the stage.
Oh, we was entitled to be at the front. We paid to be in the front row, hadn't we?
No doubt. Only you weren't entitled to climb onto the stage, were you, Tracy?
No.
So why did you get onto the stage?
I wanted to get near Mike, didn't I?
To try to get a kiss from the singer, I think you said.
Yeah.
Perhaps to get hold of a bit of his clothing or a lock of his hair.
Yeah, fantastic.
And did you really care about interrupting the programme? You didn't, did you? And I suppose all the others felt the same way.
I suppose.
You were part of a mob, really, weren't you, Tracy?
Well, not really a mob.
A mass of other girls all trying to get at the singer?
Yeah.
What stopped you reaching him?
Well, him grabbing my hair.
Was anyone else on the stage trying to stop this invasion?
Not really.
So this man, on his own, was fighting off a whole mass of young girls, all trying to get at the singer and pull out his hair and tear off his clothes. Is that not true?
Lord, my learned friend is trying to put words into the witness's mouth.
My lord, I'm merely summarising what she has already said.
Well, if she said it once, that'll be sufficient.
Very well, my lord. Now let me ask you about Michelle. You told us that you saw what happened to her.
Yeah.
And yet you had just been thrown off the stage into a mass of other girls. How could you see what happened to your friend?
'Cause I got up again.
Were you hurt? Were you crying?
No, I wasn't.
But you said this man hurt you.
Well, he did, but I wasn't crying.
What did he do to Michelle exactly?
He threw her into the lights.
Pushed her or threw her?
He threw her, head first.
You mean he lifted her off the ground?
Yeah, he grabbed her round the waist, lifted her up and threw her.
Round the waist?
Yeah,
You're sure?
yeah.
After she hit the lights, she was obviously badly hurt. What happened then?
Well, everyone crowded round her and Mike stopped singing, told everyone to get back and sit down. And they carried her off the stage into the side part, you know, and then they went on with the concert.
Thank you.
Tracy, my learned friend has suggested that you wanted to pull out the singer's hair and tear off his clothes. Is that true?
No. Me? No, I just wanted to get near him.
Now, after you were kicked off the stage, was it a long drop, by the way, off the stage?
Not really. I found a load of girls. It's quite a soft landing, really.
Well, once you were on your feet again, did you have a good, clear view of the stage?
Yeah.
Now, you say that you saw this man pick Michelle up and throw her. And you say that he lifted her up by the waist. But however he lifted your friend, are you positive that he threw her?
Yeah. He threw her dead hard. She just went bam into the lights, you know. The light just shattered. It kind of blew up right in her face. All the other lights were flashing in her eyes, all red and blue. And her face was covered in blood, and it looked like ink, kind of black with the lights on it. She was screaming her head off, and nobody could hear her because of the music. Everyone screamed. You couldn't hear a thing with the loud music. It was ages till they went to help her. I felt awful because I couldn't do nothing, you know. She was my best friend. It was horrible.
Tomorrow you can join us again when the case of the Queen against Fagan will be resumed in the Crown Court.
Michelle Hines, please.
Take the book in your right hand. Oh, I'm sorry. Repeat after me. I swear by Almighty God.
I swear by Almighty God.
This is Michelle Hines. She's 14 and she's blind after an incident during a local concert by the rock band Tears. The group's road manager, James Fagan, is charged with causing grievous bodily harm with intent. He's pleaded not guilty.
Michelle, I know this is a strain for you. We're all going to try and help you as much as possible. Mr. Fry is going to ask you some questions about the circumstances leading up to your injury. Do you understand? All right, Mr. Fry.
Thank you, my lord. Michelle, do you remember the concert where you were hurt?
Yes.
Will you tell us about it?
Oh, I cut my face on a light bulb. It made me blind.
Yes. We've seen the lights that hurt you, but how did that come about?
Well, I got on the stage and a man grabbed me and threw me on the lights and they smashed and the glass went in my eyes.
The man who grabbed you, do you remember what he looked like?
He was big, with a beard and short hair, and he had an earring.
Was there anybody else trying to get people off the stage, or was he the only one?
He was the only one actually on the stage, but there was others down at the front trying to stop us getting on.
So there was only one man trying to get people off the stage, and that was the man who threw you on the lights?
Yeah.
Do you think he meant to throw you on the lights?
My lord, really, that is the most improper question.
Just a minute. Let's all try not to shout, Mr. Crawford, right? Don't answer that question, Michelle. I'm going to ask you a question which I hope will sort out this difficulty. If this man did throw you on the lights, we need to know whether he did it on purpose. And, of course, you can't be expected to know the answer to that question. What I want to know is, when he was on the stage holding you, what part of the stage was he on? Was it the front towards the lights or back of the stage? Can you remember?
Sort of in the middle?
Yes. And did he move in any particular direction before letting go of you?
Towards the lights.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Fry.
I'm obliged, my lord. Michelle, can you give us an idea how far the man threw you before you hit the light?
Oh, I don't know.
I mean, did you actually fly through the air or just sort of drop?
I sort of... a bit of both. I don't know, it happened very fast.
Or did the man throw you from waist height, or did he lift you higher than that when he threw you?
He just picked me up and threw me. I don't know, from high up.
Did he say anything to you when he detained you on the stage?
No. Or if he did, I couldn't hear because of the music.
Michelle, the doctor told us that you had a broken bone in your right hand. How did that come about?
The bloke trod on it.
The bloke?
The one who threw me on the lights.
When was this?
When I was trying to get on the stage, he come and trod on my hand.
Did he appear to do this deliberately to discourage you from getting on the stage?
Yeah.
Michelle, why did you try to get on the stage?
'Cause Tracy did.
Because Tracy did. Your friend, Tracy Brett. Well, Tracy has already told us that she wanted to get on the stage to be near the singer, Mike Hennessy. Was that your intention?
I suppose. Only I've gone right off him now.
But at the time, if you hadn't been intercepted, what would you have done?
If I could have got near him? I don't know. Give him a hug?
You would have given him a hug. Thank you, Michelle.
Do you wish to cross-examine?
Only briefly, my lord, if I may.
Mr. Crawford White is going to ask you some questions now, Michelle.
Hello, Michelle.
Hello?
Now, I'm interested to know how you got onto the stage. Was it easy to do?
I climbed. It was dead easy, like doing gym. Sort of pull up and then cock your leg over.
Did anyone try to stop you, other than the man you've told us about?
No.
And did many other girls climb onto the stage with you?
Yeah, loads.
Could you say how many, approximately?
Loads. Hundreds.
Do you mean literally hundreds?
Well, a dead lot anyway.
So I suppose this one man who was trying to get you off the stage was pretty busy.
Oh, yeah.
I suppose he was rushing about all over the place trying to hustle hysterical youngsters back into the audience.
Yeah.
So when he trod on your hand, I don't suppose he was looking at you or your hand. Isn't it more likely that he was preoccupied with getting someone else off the stage and just happened to put his foot on your hand?
Yeah. No. Oh, I don't know. Only he was doing it to everybody. Every time someone put their hand on the stage, he'd come and stamped on it in his dirty big boots.
Now then, these lights you crashed into, where were they?
Along the front of the stage.
In the court here, we have a row of them. Were there, in fact, more than that number?
Yeah, loads more.
When you say that the man carried you towards the lights before he threw you. That's really only as much as to say that he carried you towards the front of the stage, away from the group and towards the audience, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now, let me go back to the moment when you decided to climb onto the stage. At that moment, were other girls already on the stage?
Yeah, loads. Well, quite a lot, yeah.
And were they being allowed to run up and hug and kiss the singer?
Some.
Were they?
Mostly they was getting thrown off, but some got to Mike and got kisses.
Before being thrown off the stage?
Yeah.
And did you think you'd be able to do the same thing?
I didn't think about it, really.
I don't suppose you did. Being realistic, it must have been obvious to you that if you climbed onto the stage, you too would be thrown off it.
I didn't think.
Well, if you had been thinking, you would perhaps have realized that to climb onto the stage was to risk being hurt. You'd seen other girls being handled none too gently, hadn't you?
Yeah.
Now then, once you were on the stage, were you absolutely determined to get to this singer, this Mike Hennessy?
Oh, yeah.
If anyone tried to stop you, were you ready to struggle and fight with them?
Struggle, I suppose.
Struggle, yes, struggle. Struggle, meaning what? Kick, yes?
Yeah.
Scratch, were you willing to scratch?
Oh, I don't know.
To get to this adored singer, were you not willing to kick, scratch, push, shove, bite, pull his hair out by the roots and generally behave like a wild animal?
I
No,
didn't.
I'm not suggesting you actually did any of these things. But would you have done them, if necessary, in order to get the kiss and the hug you were after?
Oh, I don't know, maybe, yeah.
You and many others all wanting the same things, all prepared to use violence, the greatest violence of which you were capable to get it. Did this man hurt you?
What?
This man who picked you up, did he hurt you?
No.
No. Did he kick you? No. Did he scratch you? No. Did he bite? No. He simply picked you up and heaved you towards the front of the stage where you fell onto a light. Now, isn't that what really happened?
Yeah.
Thank you.
This is Mr. Fry again, Michelle. Let me just make sure we've got it right. The man who picked you up and threw you, did he do it gently? If it's possible to throw anyone gently. Did he do it gently or did he do it violently?
He did it violently. He was dead violent.
And did you at any time behave violently towards this man or towards anyone else?
No, I didn't kick or scratch or anything like he just said.
And do you at any time by word or gesture threaten to behave violently towards this man or towards anyone else?
No, I never. I didn't threaten anybody.
Mr. Kaine, are you the senior partner in the company Danny Kaine Enterprises Limited?
The founder, chairman and managing director. I am indeed, sir, the lot, yes. What do you want to know? Like I said to the policeman outside, if it's about my income tax, it's a check of the post. I said, a check of the post.
Will you tell us, Mr. Kaine, what part you played in the organisation of the concert which was held in the Civic Hall, Fulchester, on October the 11th last?
Oh, the concert by the Tears. Yeah, well, yes, I'll tell you exactly my involvement. I promoted that particular tour by arrangement with the group's manager, Mr. Johnny Curtis, who was a very dear friend of mine. And he came to me because he wanted to mount a British tour for the boys at very short notice, prior to their going into the studio to record their second album, which I'm pleased to say is doing extremely well for them.
You promoted the concert. For those of us who are not familiar with the entertainment industry, what exactly does promoting a concert involve, Mr. Kaine?
Well, I mean, what doesn't it involve, Mr. Crawford White, eh? I mean, what does it involve? I mean, I'm the man who carries the cane. You see, once my signature goes on a promotion contract, I make it my business that everyone involved is going to get a little bit of pleasure or profit out of the enterprise. Now, that goes for the performers, the financial backers, the fans, and anyone else who's involved.
I'm sure. Perhaps I can approach it in a different way. Are you, for example, responsible for security in the concert hall on the night?
Oh, no. Security, it is clearly stated in the contract, is the responsibility of the hall management. You see, they undertake to me to make sure that only bona fide ticket holders are admitted to the venue. Also, that suitable arrangements will be made to protect the group, the artist staff, the equipment, and that's copper bottoms. How it comes into effect, though, on the night, well, that is up to me, the group's management, the hall management, and anybody else involved. When it comes down to ground level, as it were, I'm Mr. Fix-It. I'm the troubleshooter. I booked the tour, and I'm committed 150% to its success. But legally, security is not, and I repeat, not my responsibility.
Were you present at the concert I mentioned?
Oh, look, Mr. Crawford White, I'm always present at a concert I am promoting. That is an article of faith with me. I think if I'm going to earn my percentage and I don't come cheap, then I should be there from start to finish.
Mr. Kaine, a simple yes or no will do.
Oh, my lord, I know I do go on, yes. I'm a spieler, you see. Can a leopard change his spots? He can't, can he? I'm doing it again, you see. No, the answer to your question, Mr. Crawford White, I think was yes.
Did you at any time during the evening speak to the group's road manager about the question of crowd control?
Oh, yeah, well, what am I supposed to have said, love?
Look, just answer the question, Mr. Kaine. Yes or no?
Possibly.
Yes or no?
Oh, you're a very hard man, Mr. Crawford White. All right, for the sake of argument, I did, yes.
The man you spoke to, do you see him in court?
Well, where am I looking? Oh, yes, the gentleman over there in the dock. Lost a bit of weight, haven't you, son?
You spoke to Mr. Fagan. Was this during the concert?
Look, as far as I know, I never said nothing I shouldn't have said. I mean, if you're saying that I did, I'd like to know what I'm being accused of. I'm not saying you're putting words in my mouth, but my guiding factor has always been, unless it's on a piece of paper with my signature on the bottom, then I never said it.
Nobody's accusing you of anything, Mr. Kaine. Well, all we'd really like to know is what passed between you and Mr. Fagan.
Oh, that's simple. I said to him, look, I said, there's a riot going on. One of those kids are going to do somebody a damage. Well, there's also 10,000 greenies tied up in the gear on the stage. Also, the penalty clauses I'm going to get if one of the band gets his neck broke. Go out there and see it doesn't happen.
Go out there and see it doesn't happen. Meaning what, exactly?
Meaning don't let the little so-and-sos get on the stage.
Does that imply that you lacked confidence in the hall management's own security arrangements?
Oh, really? Another leading question.
Oh, yes, I agree with him. That's very leading, that question.
I doubt if he's capable of being led anywhere. Answer the question, will you, please?
Yeah, did I lack confidence? Well, let me put it this way. I mean, I knew I was covered contract-wise. But have you ever tried to sue a local council for negligence? It's a mug's game. This is free legal advice you're getting.
Thank you.
No, don't thank me. I'd do anything for anybody.
Mr. Kaine, did you lack confidence in the ability of the hall security men to keep the fans off the stage?
Hey, look, the fans are getting on the stage already. I mean, who wouldn't lack confidence?
Indeed. Mr. Fagan obeyed your instruction and went to intercept the fans as they climbed on the stage. Now, did he do this with enthusiasm or with reluctance?
Well, how would you feel?
How did he feel?
Well, ask him. I mean, how did you feel, eh? Pig sick, am I right? Pig sick. He felt pig sick about it. I mean, kicking little girls off the stage is nobody's idea of fun. You're too likely to get your nose broken. It's all dirty fight, you know, all below the belt stuff.
So Mr. Fagan didn't appear to be enjoying himself?
Not from where I was standing. No.
Where were you standing?
In the wings.
Did you have a clear view of the incident in which a girl fell onto a row of lights?
Oh, yeah, it was a terrible tragedy, that. I mean, very, very sad. The group are deeply upset about it. Johnny Curtis wrote a note personally, I know, and we all contributed to the appeal fund, of course.
Did you see it?
Well, yeah. It was an accident, pure and simple. I mean, one minute he's got this girl under his arm, kicking and riddling. Next minute she's on the floor covered in blood. A sheer accident.
You're sure of that?
Well, ask him. He'll tell you it was an accident.
He probably will at that. Thank you, Mr. Kaine.
He had this girl under his arm. Next thing, she's lying on the floor covered in blood. So what happened in between?
Oh, she fell accidentally.
Where was Fagan standing in relation to the row of lights when this happened?
Quite near, obviously.
You see, Mr. Kaine, we've heard from 2 eyewitnesses who saw Michelle thrown onto that row of lights. We've heard from Michelle herself, who says that she was thrown onto the row of lights. We've also heard from a doctor who says that her injuries are consistent with her having been thrown onto the row of lights. Now, you say that she was not thrown, but that she fell.
Look, all I'm saying is it was an accident. Fell or thrown, what's the difference?
So you're not now insisting that she fell?
I'm not insisting on anything, old chap.
Don't call Mr. Fry old chap, please, Mr. Kaine.
Oh, I'm very sorry, Mr. Fry.
Do you remember making a statement to the police in which you said, I saw Fagan try to throw the girl off the stage, but she fell short and struck her head on the footlights?
Look, all I'm saying, it was an accident.
You stand by your statement, then?
Providing we all agree it was an accident, yes.
When you approached Fagan and spoke to him about crowd control, what was he doing?
Well, he was sitting on a drum box in the wings.
What was he doing?
Oh, look, what are you getting at now?
Was he drinking beer?
Quite possibly.
Is it customary for the road manager to drink backstage during the performance?
Well, they don't usually sit there knitting and reading Shakespeare. Well, I mean, as long as they are fit enough to load the van and drive it all night, they can drink all the beer they likes. It comes out of the group's percentage, though. That is clearly stipulated.
They get free drinks.
There's no such thing as a free drink in this world, Mr. Fry. That's one thing you learn in my business, I can tell you.
But the road manager is not required to pay for his drinks in cash on the night. It's in the nature of a perquisite.
Is it what?
A perk, Mr. Kaine.
Well, they get very thirsty, Mr. Fry.
No further questions, my lord.
You don't want to re-examine, do you, Mr. Crawford-Wright?
No, my lord.
No. Thank you. You may leave the witness box, Mr. Kaine.
Oh, is that it?
Yes.
I call Michael Hennessy. Are you Michael Hennessy?
Yeah.
Are you the singer with the group known as Tears?
Yeah, right.
How do audiences react to your performance, Mr. Hennessy?
Oh, knockout. Fantastic reaction. Really tremendous.
Could you be a little more specific? What do the audiences actually do?
They have a ball. Well, they really got off in the act. What a very visual band.
Do they, as a rule, remain sitting in their seats?
Oh, no way. Leaping about, bopping in the aisles.
Do they tend to gather at the front of the auditorium beneath the stage?
Yeah, you got it.
And do you encourage them to leave their seats and crowd towards the stage?
Oh, well, when it happens, obviously, it's great. Spontaneous.
But when it doesn't?
Well, usually I go to the front of the stage and try a wee weepy one. If that doesn't get them, throw them a few kisses.
In short, you encourage them by every possible means to crowd beneath the stage and even to attempt physical intimacy with you.
Makes it sound a bit filthy, that. Attempt physical intimacy.
You offer to kiss them.
Sometimes, yeah.
Do they ever try to climb actually onto the stage?
Well, hopefully, yeah.
You welcome that, do you?
Well, up to a point, so long as it doesn't get out of hand.
Played in Fulchester last October. It got out of hand?
Hand? Hey, look, Fulchester was a pits. Man, that was the worst.
You say that was the worst such occasion, but have there been other similar incidents?
Oh, yeah. We got our own regular bouncers now it gets so bad.
I take it you have employed these men since the trouble at Fulchester.
Well, partly because of that. But I mean, that was when we realised that you can't leave security to Jobsworths.
You can't leave it to whom?
Jobsworths. But that's what we... Well, you get these daft like... You know the sort, you ask them to do something, they say, more than my job's worth.
Before you employed your own bouncers, as you call them, how would you cope with an overexcited audience?
Well, it's down to the roadies. But it's not fair on them, though.
The roadies? People like Mr. Fagan?
Yeah. And can I just say that Jimmy's one of the best? He wouldn't hurt a fly. When you're sober, eh, Jim?
Was Mr. Fagan often called upon to help out in this way?
Well, he's always standing by, just in case.
And was he ever, as far as you know, responsible for any injury to any of the fans, leaving aside this one occasion?
No. I mean, like I said, he wouldn't hurt a fly. I mean, his general attitude, he's very Zen Buddhist.
Ah. Did you see the incident in which Michel Hines was hurt?
Well, no. See, I was too busy taking care of myself. Well, I had two females trying to rip the shirt off of my back, another one heaving in the trousers. Apart from anything else, it could have been embarrassing.
In general, then, was Mr. Fagan handling the fans gently or violently?
Too gently. I mean, he was getting them off at the stage and we'll come back on again. I tell you, some of them needed a good thump just to keep them quiet.
But Mr. Fagan was failing to administer the thump.
You got it.
What happened after Michel was hurt?
Well, as soon as I realised we had a nasty one, stopped the act, cleared the stage.
What was Mr. Fagan doing at this time?
Clearing people away, weakening them off the stage. And then he carried the girl backstage, and we carried on with the act.
Thank you.
Did they hurt you, Mr. Hennessy, these youngsters who climbed onto the stage?
No, not at all.
Did they damage any of the group's equipment?
No, well, unless you want to count the light that gets smashed.
Apart from the light that was smashed in the incident in which Michel was blinded?
No damage.
Have you ever been seriously injured by a group of fans, or has any of your equipment ever been smashed?
No, not really. Well, I mean, apart from in the early days, we used to smash up the occasional guitar as part of the act. But we've progressed beyond that.
You were telling us that, in your view, Mr. Fagan was too gentle in his treatment of the fans.
Oh, if anything, yeah.
You were saying that, as you thought, he didn't hit them hard enough.
He didn't hit them at all.
Well, what did he do then? How did he, in your phrase, clear them off the stage?
Well, he picked them up and dropped them over the edge of the stage.
A drop, according to police measurements, of something over 5 feet.
Ah, yeah, but he didn't drop 5 feet. He was just dropping them on top of people jammed at the front of the stage.
Who presumably didn't object to having screaming girls flung in their faces. Who supplied your lighting equipment, Mr. Hennessy?
Stuff we got now or the stuff we had then?
I mean the lights on the table over there.
Oh, well, that was a set we had made for us. We get the proper computerised stuff now, but, very simple flasher unit working red, green, blue alternate.
Were they made by a qualified electrician?
No, Norman's brother made them, but he'd done a good job.
Did it ever strike you, any of you, that exposed lamps at floor level were an appalling safety risk?
We never had any bother with them before, just the once.
Is once not enough?
Well, I've told you we've got new equipment now.
You were saying that Mr. Fagan quite often acted as a sort of bodyguard to yourself. Did he ever complain about having to fulfill this function?
No.
Did he ever suggest that you might do less to provoke trouble at your concerts? That you might persuade your audience to stay in their seats, for example?
Hey, come on. I mean, that'd be a real downer. You can't expect an audience to say sat down all the time.
It would certainly be safer, Mr. Hennessy. Is Mr. Fagan a man who knows his own strength?
I don't know, I suppose so.
Does he know how to handle himself in a fight?
My lord, my learned friend is introducing matters of character.
Lord, I'm trying to establish that Fagan is a man who could be expected to realize the consequence of his violent actions. It's a usual consideration in such cases.
Yes, I think your last question was rather designed to suggest that Mr. Fagan is habitually violent. If that was the suggestion, the jury will disregard it.
As your lordship pleases. Mr. Hennessy, you told my learned friend that Mr. Fagan would not hurt a fly so long as he's sober. What did you mean by that?
My lord, I object. That was a throwaway remark by the witness. Again, my learned friend is raising matters which are inadmissible.
Perhaps you'll confine yourself to the night of the concert in question, Mr. Fry.
Very good, my lord. Was Fagan sober on that evening, Mr. Hennessy?
As far as I know, he was, yeah.
Did you see him drinking?
Could have had a couple of bevies.
A couple of pints?
Yeah.
And would he customarily drink backstage during a performance?
Yeah.
So he could have been drunk, or at any rate, half drunk.
It's possible, I suppose, yeah.
And that would account for it, wouldn't it? An outburst of drunken violence. As you've implied yourself, nothing new from this man.
Join us again tomorrow when the case of the Queen against Fagan will be concluded in the Crown Court.
I shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
This is James Fagan, formerly a road manager with the rock band Tears. At their local concert, a 14-year-old girl, Michelle Hines, was blinded when her face struck a row of footlights. Fagan is charged with causing grievous bodily harm with intent. He has pleaded not guilty.
Mr. Fagan, during the past 2 days of this case, you've been obliged to sit there in the dock and hear a succession of witnesses giving their accounts of the incident in which Michelle Hines was blinded. Will you now tell us, in your own way, what actually happened?
Well, I don't know. The first thing is, to be honest, I don't remember much about it. Well, I mean, you don't. All you remember is afterwards, with the girl lying there bleeding away, and then all this business at the police station. Well, all this carry-on about whether I picked her up by her arms or round her waist, or whether I threw her or dropped her, or a bit of both. Well, you know, it's difficult. I mean, up until I realised she was badly hurt, she was just one of dozens. Well, I was rushing round the stage, picking them up, carrying them off, dumping them back in the audience. Suddenly, one of the lights goes bang, and there she is, curled up on the stage, pouring blood. Well, I still don't know exactly how it happened.
Well, let's start at the beginning, then. How did Fulchester Civic Hall compare with other concert halls you've experienced in terms of security?
I'd say well below average. Well, it's only a low stage, about 5 foot, which means it's fairly easy for people to climb onto. Also, the dumbos they gave us as bouncers couldn't cope. Swimming bath attendants putting in a bit of overtime. You could see they were missing their whistles. They just didn't know what to do. And 6 of them to keep 2,000 kids in order. Well, you'd need about 24 to do the job properly. I don't know what sort of band they thought they was putting on. Anyone who'd seen Tears perform would have known. It was the wrong venue for the gig, full stop.
Given all this, was trouble, in your opinion, inevitable?
Totally.
Why did you go onto the stage during the performance?
Well, first off, because Mr. Kaine asked me to. And also because I could see for myself that Mickey and the lads were having a hard time.
What were you concerned by your intervention to prevent?
Well, how do you mean?
What I mean is that a person may, in law, legitimately use a degree of violence to prevent some greater violence. What was the violence, if any, that you were concerned to prevent?
Well, it's hard to tell. I mean, nobody knows what might have happened. I've seen young girls get badly hurt when they start mobbing a band, and not to mention the blokes themselves. Also, well, I know it looks a bit sick to look back on it, but I remember thinking one of those little headbangers is going to smash the lights if we're not careful.
In short, you were concerned to prevent injury to the musicians or the fans and damage to the band's equipment.
That's about it, yeah.
It has been suggested that you were drunk. Is that true?
Is it, heck? It takes more than a couple of brown ales to get me going. I'm a big lad. I'd sup maybe 3 of them little bottles, that's all.
It has also been suggested by Michelle that you deliberately trod on her hand as she was trying to get onto the stage. Is this possible?
It's possible. I don't remember her particularly, but I did tread on a few fingers. Well, it was the best way I could think to stop them climbing up, or discourage them a bit anyway. Well, I reckon if I'm on a stage and there's a whole mob of kids trying to get up at me, well, I can either wait till they climb up before I do anything about it, which is very difficult once they're on a stage, or I can, discourage them from trying. Well, now, I can't bend down and wrestle with them, or they drag me head first into the audience. So all I can use is my feet. You with me? It's a choice. Either tread on their fingers or kick them in the head. I just thought treading on their fingers was a better idea than kicking their heads, that's all.
Was this tactic effective? Did it discourage them?
Well, some of them, yeah. Not the real fanatics, but you need a bazooka to stop some of them.
Here in court, you've seen 2 of the girls who climbed onto the stage, Tracy, Brett, and Michelle Hines. Were they among what you would call the real fanatics?
Well, I remember that first one, Tracy. She nearly bit me finger off, that one, vicious little cow.
Now, Tracy was the one who said that you pulled her across the stage by her hair and then kicked her into the audience. What's your recollection of this incident?
Well, my recollection is chasing after her and getting hold of her arm, and her trying to wriggle loose. Well, then she bit me hand where I was holding her. So I pulled her head away with my other hand, and in fact, that is when I pulled her hair. So I had one hand on her arm, right? And the other round a fistful of air, and I pushed her towards the edge and gave her a shove, and she sort of jumped off back into the crowd.
Did you kick her?
Not that I remember. Well, I certainly didn't hurt her particularly. I mean, if you hurt someone in that situation, you can tell, because the fight goes out of them. Well, she was kicking and wriggling right up until I dumped her over the edge.
And in the case of Michelle, did she resist your attempts to remove her from the stage?
Well, they all resisted, but as I say, I don't remember Michelle particularly. Well, I must have had hold of her with one arm and was chasing after somebody else with the other, you know? All of a sudden, bang, there she was. Well, put it this way, I didn't throw her on the lights on purpose.
We've heard that these homemade lighting units were all round the front of the stage. And you mentioned yourself that you were aware of the danger of their being broken. Was it difficult to avoid them as you were clearing the stage?
It was, yeah. You had to be very careful where you put your feet. And mind you, they weren't right on the edge. I mean, you could step over them if you was looking where you was going. But it did make things very difficult. Also, they were flashing in your eyes, made it hard to see properly.
And how did you feel, Mr. Fagan, when Michelle was hurt?
Well, I'll be honest. First thing I thought was, Christ, she asked for it and she got it, you know? Well, then I had another look and I could see the mess she was in, and I thought, well, she didn't deserve that, no way.
Did you feel responsible for the accident?
Not at all, no. Well, I mean, I didn't know whether I'd dropped her on a light or she'd fallen over on it or what.
When you realized the extent of her injuries, what did you do?
Well, I got Mick to stop the act, and then I cleared the rest of the kids off the stage, and I carried her out to the wings at the side there and got them to get an ambulance for her.
Thank you.
Mr. Fagan, you seem to be suffering from a curious, and if I may say so, unconvincing lapse of memory. You say you cannot recall the incident which left Michelle Hines lying blinded at your feet. You remember exactly what you did to Tracy Brett, pulling her hair, throwing her off the stage, and so forth. But you don't remember laying a finger on Michelle.
I remember Tracy because she bit me hand, didn't she? But Michelle was one of dozens, like I said.
Do you remember the lamp smashing when Michelle struck it?
Yeah, I said that.
Then you must remember where you were and what you were doing at that moment.
I remember where I was. I was on a flaming stage, wasn't I? That's obvious. I remember what I was doing. I was trying to clear a whole mass of kids back into the audience. I don't remember this one girl in particular. I heard a bang. I thought, aye, one of the lights has gone. Someone's kicked it or something. I had a look, and there she was.
Michelle says you threw her. Tracy Brett says she saw you do exactly that. Mr. Crawshaw saw you do...
Crawshaw, that stupid little prat. It was because of him the whole thing started, him and his non-existent security. Do you know where he was when the trouble started? In his office watching the telly. The poor old Herbert on the door had to go and get him. Anything Crawshaw says about me is just to get himself out of sherbet dip. Well, that brings it down to the two girls, and they were both hysterical at the time. You know, it's quite possible I never even touched her.
Are you denying that you touched her?
No, I'm not denying it. I'm just saying you can't prove it one way or the other.
Well, leaving aside for the moment the identical testimony of 3 separate witnesses, how do you account for the bruises on Michelle's arms?
Well, that could have been anybody, but it's not up to me to account for them.
Well, I have an explanation to offer for your difficulty in remembering what happened, Mr. Fagan. My explanation is that you were at least half drunk at the time.
Not true.
But you don't deny that you had been drinking?
Yeah.
How much beer is customarily supplied free to you during a performance?
No, a crate of brown ale and a couple of bottles of spirits for the band, usually vodka.
Is that much alcohol generally required?
That and more, yeah.
And you claim that with all that free liquor to go at, you weren't at least a little bit tipsy?
I didn't get much of a chance at it, did I? I was too busy playing bouncers.
Then if you were sober, why don't you remember what happened?
I told you what happened.
No, you haven't, Mr. Fagan. You've told us nothing. Nothing about the crucial incident, the incident in which Michelle was thrown onto those lights.
I didn't throw her.
Then what did you do? Push her, kick her, drop her, what?
I don't remember.
Because you were drunk. My learned friend has suggested that you were violent because you were seeking to avoid worse violence. But when he put you the question, what were you seeking by your intervention to prevent, you were very vague in your reply. So let me give you a chance to persuade us further on this point. Just what do you think these excited youngsters were trying to do?
Well, get up on a stage where they didn't belong.
We know that. But why? Why were they trying to get onto the stage?
Well, get at the band, especially Mike.
Why? What for? What were they trying to do?
God knows, tear him apart.
They were trying to kiss him, Mr. Fagan.
Listen, I've seen the state of that lad when a couple of dozen of these little savages have been trying to kiss him. I've also seen little girls jump on the bonnet of his car at 30 miles an hour, so don't try and tell me that kind of mobbing ain't dangerous.
And have you ever seen him seriously hurt by that?
Well, not seriously hurt, no, but...
No, of course you haven't. You've seen his hair ruffled and his clothes pulled. And that was the level of violence you were seeking to prevent by stamping on young girls' hands, pulling their hair, throwing them over a 5-foot drop onto a tightly packed crowd, and throwing or kicking or dropping one of them onto a lamp, blinding her for life. All to save your singer losing a couple of shirt buttons.
You don't know what you're talking about.
I'm asking you what level of violence you sought to prevent that could possibly justify your own aggressive behaviour.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. Next time I'll just let them get on with it, then we'll know, won't we?
Members of the jury, in this case you've heard from 7 witnesses, including the accused, and you've heard 7 accounts of the injuries to Michelle Hines, 7 explanations of how she came by them. Dr. Gill, who attended to her in Fulchester Infirmary, described those wounds: a broken bone in the hand, bruises to the upper arms, and cuts to the face which have left her totally blind. So let us now look at those injuries in turn and consider what we've learned about their causes. First, the broken bone in the hand. Now, this was explained when Michelle gave her evidence. The man on the stage, who we know to have been Fagan, the man on the stage, she said, trod on her hand, and he did so deliberately. And this was confirmed by Fagan himself. He says that he quite deliberately stamped on several girls' hands as an alternative, if you please, to kicking their faces. So the broken bone in the hand is something about which we're all agreed. Fagan caused it, and he caused it quite deliberately. Now the bruises to the arms. Dr. Gill described those. They showed quite clearly that Michelle had been seized from behind by a large pair of hands which had gripped her tightly. Now consider the implications of that. Whose hands? Fagan's, of course. He says he doesn't remember it. But plenty of other people do remember. Michelle herself remembers it. She said, "The man grabbed me and threw me onto the lights." Tracy Brett remembers it. She said, "I saw Michelle being smashed head first into the lights." In other words, she didn't stumble or fall or drop. She was thrown. Mr. Crawshaw saw exactly what happened. He described it to you like this. This fellow, and he identified Fagan, this fellow grabbed hold of her and threw her smack bang into the row of lamps deliberately. It was totally unnecessary. Now, these accounts are borne out for us by the nature of the injuries. No other explanation fits both the physical evidence, the injuries to Michelle, and the witnesses' accounts. For example, suppose that Michelle had just stumbled and fallen, as my learned friend has suggested, or even that she'd wriggled out of Fagan's grasp and dropped onto the lights. Surely she would have put out a hand to break her fall. She would certainly not have smashed into them head first with considerable force. So it's quite clear then that she was thrown onto the lights by Fagan deliberately. He says he doesn't remember this. Well, of course he would say that, and quite possibly it's true. After all, he'd been drinking 3 bottles of beer by his own account, and for all we know, it could have been a crate full. As for the other defense witnesses, Mr. Hennessy didn't see the incident, and Mr. Kaine, well, Mr. Kaine said in his statement to the police that Fagan threw the girl. Then here in court he said first that she was thrown, then that she fell, and at one point he said, thrown, fell, what's the difference? So much for Mr. Kaine. No members of the jury. Michelle was thrown onto those lamps. That is the man who threw her, and he did it deliberately. He also bruised her arms, and by his own admission stamped so hard on her hand that he broke one of the bones. In justification, we've heard only one argument, that in some way this 14-year-old girl represented a threat to life and property. Members of the jury, you've seen Michelle. She's no threat to anybody. All she wanted was a hug and a kiss from her favorite singer. And because of that innocent impulse, she was brutally assaulted and left blind. I submit that all the evidence points to only one verdict, a verdict of guilty.
Members of the jury, my suggestion to you is that the accident in which Michelle Hines lost her sight can be blamed on many factors and on many people, but that it was not caused deliberately by anyone. I'm sure by now that you appreciate what a complex set of circumstances was involved. The chain of causation was this. First, a concert was promoted in a hall totally unsuitable for the purpose, where the stage could not be protected against a determined assault. The hall was crammed and the security arrangements pathetic. 6 untrained staff were asked to control 2,000 teenagers. Second, the group itself, particularly the singer, Mike Hennessy, had adopted a deliberate policy of inciting the audience to leave their seats, to come to the front of the hall, and to get onto the stage. My friend has said, my learned friend has said over and over again, all they wanted was a kiss and a hug. Well, that may be true of them as individuals, but collectively, they were a mob. And a mob in the grip of a strong emotion can be a frightening and dangerous thing, capable of infinite harm to property, to other people, and not least to itself. These youngsters were hysterical. We've heard how Tracy Brett, to look at her, you'd hardly think her capable of it. We've heard how she sank her teeth into Mr. Fagan's hand and had to be dragged away by her hair. The third factor was the group's lighting equipment. This was constructed by irresponsible amateurs and used by fools, but be that as it may. Now, these three factors together, the lack of security, the deliberately created mob hysteria, and those wickedly dangerous lights made tragedy inevitable. Now, Mr. Fagan is, as you can see, a big, strong fellow. He doesn't need to use much violence to subdue a girl of 13 or 14. He can simply tuck her under one arm, kicking and screaming as much as she likes, and carry her to a place of safety. Now, this is exactly what he did with as many as 24 of the girls who invaded the stage. He picked them up and put them back into the audience. He suffered a few bites and scratches, perhaps, but none of the girls was hurt. None except Michelle Hines. Now, why was she an exception? Not, you may be sure, because Mr. Fagan singled her out for cruel and vicious treatment. Why should he? She was behaving much like the other girls. He would naturally treat her in much the same way. He would pick her up, tuck her under one arm, carry her to the front of the stage, and pop her back into the audience. So, how did Michelle come by those bruises? I'd like to refer you to Tracy's evidence. Describing how they got onto the stage, she said, "We just went mad. We sort of climbed up one another." Is it not possible that it was then that the bruises were caused? All I'm really saying is, members of the jury, beware of reading too much into these unexplained contusions. And I should also warn you not to be taken in by my friend's rigmarole about the injured hand. Don't be bamboozled, members of the jury. Don't be misled. Like her bruises, Michelle's hand injury could have been caused at any time. It is possible that Mr. Fagan trod on her hand as she tried to climb on the stage. He has already given you his reasons for that. A little bit of hurt to save a lot more later. Isn't it equally likely, however, that Michelle hurt her hand when she fell onto the light? Or again, that someone in that confused mass of people on the stage trod on her hand as she lay there injured? I leave you with that thought, and also with another, more important one, that the neatest explanation is not always the truest. Finally, members of the jury, I ask you to step back from the details, the minutiae of this tragic incident, and view it in its wider context. You know, sometimes in these cases we get so bogged down in technicalities we can't tell the wood from the trees. Let's face it, nobody now can tell you with any certainty whether Michelle was thrown, pushed, fell, or stumbled onto that light. There was a confused mass of people, kicking, biting, hair-pulling, screaming, and all this in semi-darkness, with only the flickering stage lighting to illuminate it, and with the deafening accompaniment of a pop group playing full blast. In the midst of it all, Mr. Fagan was trying his best to restore order and sanity, and in the midst of it all, a tragic accident. A girl is blinded. Causing grievous bodily harm with intent. I've seen those words on the charge sheet so many times. But they have referred to stabbings and savage beatings. It is an appropriate charge for a man who breaks a beer bottle and thrusts it into his adversary's face. It carries a maximum penalty of 20 years. Are those really the appropriate words to apply to the actions of this man? I ask you for a verdict of not guilty.
Causing grievous bodily harm with intent. What does that mean? Grievous bodily harm means really serious harm. Now, it's clear that Michel did suffer serious harm. She was blinded. But the vital question for you, members of the jury, is whether the prosecution have made out their case that the accused intended to inflict on her really serious harm. Whether he threw her face first at those lights, intending that she should hit them. If he did, then you may well think that he is guilty of this charge. Now, if you reach the conclusion that the accused is not guilty of this offense, that he did not intend to do these dreadful injuries to this girl, if you reach this conclusion, you may still think him guilty of a lesser offense, the offense of unlawfully and maliciously inflicting grievous bodily harm. This offense is committed when one person inflicts really serious injury on another, not intentionally, but in the course of some unlawful act of violence. So, the important question in relation to this count is whether the accused's behavior in picking up and flinging this girl can be justified as being a reasonable thing to do in defending the singer or himself, or in removing the girl from a place upon which she had no right to be, the stage. Remember that the prosecution have the burden of satisfying you so that you feel sure that the accused committed an offense. If you're not so satisfied, your verdict must be one of not guilty. Now, will you please retire, elect a foreman to speak for you, and consider your verdict.
All stand.
Will your foreman please stand? Just answer this question, yes or no. Are you all agreed upon your verdict?
Yes.
On the first charge, assault occasioning actual bodily harm, do you find the prisoner guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
Is that the verdict of you all?
It is.
On the second charge, causing grievous bodily harm with intent, do you find the prisoner guilty or not guilty?
Not guilty.
James Fagan was sentenced to 12 months imprisonment, suspended for 2 years. When our cameras return to bring you another case in the Crown Court.